All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at is our new notes. We're going to go review really quick in this bell ringer our prior day of notes. So we are determining, given a series or a sequence, is it arithmetic, geometric, both or neither? Determine the common difference in ratio and then find the next two terms. So in our first one, I noticed that I have a list of numbers that are increasing. So whenever it's increasing, I like to look at addition or multiplication. So I personally just look at addition first. If it jumps out at you already, no big deal. But going step by step, I look at addition first. So I think, okay, to get from 14 to 28, what am I adding? Well, if you're not sure, you can go backwards. What's 28 minus 14? Well, that gives me 14. Okay, so I know then that 14 plus 14 is 28. And I'm going to check then if 28 plus 14 is 56. Well, when I add 28 and 14, I'm not getting 56, I'm getting 42. So I'm like, ooh, okay, this is not the number I wanted. Therefore, I know it's not addition. Instead, because it's increasing, I'm going to check out multiplication. So I think, all right, what is 14 times what makes 28? Well, if you're not sure, you can go 28 divided by 14, so you can go backwards, which is 2. So I know going the other way, 14 times 2 is 28. And I'm going to check that this works. So now I'm going to take 28 times that by 2. Guess what? That's 56. That looks good. Keep checking one more time. 56 times 2. Yep, that's 112. So this times 2 worked each time. So because it's multiplication, remember that's geometric. So multiplication division goes with geometric. Add and subtract, so A for add and subtract go with arithmetic. So we have geometric, and then our rule, so geometric goes with ratios, R equals, it's times 2, so we just write the 2. We don't need a fraction. If it was division of 2, you'd write 1/2. And then we determine our next two terms. So I take 112 times that by 2, and I get 224. And then I take 224 times that by 2, and I get 448. And those are my next two terms. Take a look at our next one. I also see that this one's increasing. So I'm going to first try out addition. So I think, how do I get from 1 to 3? Well, what do I add? Well, that might be easy. I add 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3. That works. Now I'm going to continue the pattern. 3 plus 2, that's 5. Ooh, it looks nice. But then I go 5 plus 2, and that's 7. That's not 8. So we know it's not addition. So instead, let's try multiplication. And I go, okay, well, 1 times what makes 3? 1 times 3, right? Anything times 1, you multiply by itself, is itself. So 1 times 3 is 3. So then I go 3 times 3 is 9. That's not the number I wanted. So therefore, I have nothing that works out here. This is neither. And remember, because it's neither, you can't determine the rest. We don't have to do B or C. Then I take a look at number 3, and I go, okay, let's see. We have the same number over and over again. Remember, when it's the same number over and over again, well, let's think, what can I add to get from 5 to 5? Well, I add 0. And if I add 0 again, I get 5. And if I add 0 again, I get 5. So that works. But also, what if I multiply? 5 times what is 5? 5 times 1 gets you 5. Times that by 1, it's 5. Times by 1, it's 5. So remember, anytime it's the same number repeated, it's both. So that means for your arithmetic, that is D equals, you're adding 0 each time. And for geometric, that's R equals, and the common ratio is 1, because you're multiplying by 1 each time. So if I go 5 plus 0, that's 5. Plus 0 is 5, and that's the rest of your sequence. Just the same number over and over. And lastly, we have a review of this number. So I'm taking a look, and I see from 56 onward it's decreasing. So I like to look at subtraction and division. So I'm going to look at subtraction first. So I think, 56 minus what is 49? Well, remember, you can kind of flip-flop and go 56 minus 49 and determine what that is. Because then that is a difference of 7. So that means I know I'm going minus 7. So I know 56 minus 7 is 49. So let's check the rest. 49 minus 7, it's 42. That's the number I wanted. And then 42 minus 35. 42 minus 7 And that gives me, yep, 35. So make sure you always check all of them to make sure it works, but it did. I got 35 here. So I know it's subtraction of 7. So because subtraction, I think subtraction and addition go together. Add, arithmetic. So arithmetic minus 7. So arithmetic goes with D equals -7 because of -7. And then I continue the pattern. 35 minus 7 is 28. And then 28 minus 7 is 21. So the next two numbers are 28 and 21. So now we're going to go into our new section. So let's have our header for 8 notes, recursive statements, and word problems. You do not need to write your objective, but you do need that header on your paper. So our objective is we're going to be able to write recursive statements given a sequence and write a sequence giving a recursive statement, so front and back. And then we're going to determine if a word problem is arithmetic or geometric. So recursive functions, they have your definitions. Recursive functions are equations where each term is defined as a function of its previous term. When you're like, what? Well, it's really how we write equations. So if we know one term and we know what the common differential ratio is, so how it changes from each term, we can determine the next term, the next one, and so on. So you know your initial term, and then you know your common differential ratio. So with the recursive formula, it's written with 2 parts. You have a statement of your first term, and then you also have a statement of the formula relating successive terms. In easier words, it's along with a statement of the pattern. So what are you doing each time? You're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. So you state the first term, and then you talk about the pattern. So we get to our example. In our example, you need to write your direction. You can kind of cross this off, or not cross it off. You can maybe do a line if you want to separate the definition from your example. But here we go. So for our first example, it's have your direction. It says explain the sequence in words and give the first term. That's going to be our same direction for the first 4 problems. So if you write it once, you don't have to keep writing it for the first 4 problems. So it says explain the sequence in words and give the first term. Well, I see the sequence. I have to determine what's the pattern. So just like I did for the bell ringer, I see my numbers are increasing from left to right. So I'm going to try addition first. Okay, so I'm like, 4 to 12. What am I adding to get from 4 to 12? Well, if you're not sure, you can go 12 minus 4, and that's 8. So I know 4 plus 8 is 12. And I need to see if that works for the next one. 12 plus 8, well, that's 20. That's not 36. So we know it's not addition. So then instead, let's go ahead and try out, instead, increasing, let's say, multiplication. So I'm instead going to think, all right, 4 times what is 12? Okay, so I'm like, 4 times what is 12? Well, if you're not sure, you can instead think, what's 12 divided by 4? Well, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that means 4 times 3 is 12. So we're going to keep checking. 12 times 3, what does that get me? That gets me 36. That's my number. So I know my pattern's times 3. So to fill this statement out, now when I'm giving these examples, they are going to be one or the other. It's not going to be neither or both. Okay. So in this case, it says the first term is, well, take the first term. First term is 4. So you write all of that. The first term is 4. Take the previous term and blank. So you write that too. You have to have the sentence. This is how you're explaining the sequence in words. The first term is blank. So the first term is 4. Then you're going to take the previous term and, well, what do? We multiply by 3. And that's putting it in words. The first term is 4. Take the previous term and multiply by 3. So then that tells me if I were to write it, I know to start at 4 times 3, write 12. Times 3, write 36. We're going to do that with the next 3. So you have the same definition or direction. Don't worry about writing it. And we're going to take a look at 2, 3, 4. So number 2, I see the sequence is decreasing. So I'm going to go from 64 to 16. I see it's getting smaller. And after a while, maybe you start realizing that doesn't look like perfect subtraction. It looks like these numbers are really far apart. They might be more division. Okay, so you can always do that or try your subtraction first. But you maybe start realizing this jumps out that this might be division. Okay, so if I take a look and I go, what do I divide by here? Well, if you're not sure, just take the first two numbers and divide them. Take the bigger one, divide it by the smaller. So you think, what's 64 divided by 16? And you're like, all right, well, if I go 64 divided by 16, that gives me 4, right? So then I'm saying, all right, well, I'm dividing by 4 there. Because if I go 64 divided by 4, I get my 16. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure it works. 16 divided by 4, that does give me 4, which is the next number. So we're good. So we know the first term is 64. Just write that first number. Take the previous term and divide by 4. You're just writing in words what you're doing. Take a look at our next one. We are going least or low to high. So we're going increasing. So I'm going to first look at addition because these numbers are pretty close. They might have that same pattern. So I'm going to check it out, addition. So if I'm going from -3 to 1, you have to think, well, that might be a little harder because you're going from negative to positive. So if you want, just draw yourself a little number line real quick. Here's 0. I'm at -3. And 1 here. So how many tick marks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know I'm adding 4. So you could always check in your calculator. -3 plus 4. Yep, that's going to be 1. So now I check really quick. 1 plus 4. Yep, that's 5. So we know that this is addition of 4. So my first term is -3. Take the previous term and add 4. Make sure you have the whole sentence statement. You can't just fill in the blank. You're going to have to write the whole sentence out on your paper. Same for your homework. All right. Take a look at the next one. I see it's decreasing. So I'm seeing, all right, these aren't as far-fetched. Let me try out subtraction. I think, 100 minus what is 70? If you're not sure, you can take the 2 and subtract them. What's 100 minus 70? That's 30. So that means you're subtracting 30. So if I go 100 minus 30, that is 70. And I take 70, double check. 70 minus 30 is 40. That is the next number. So we're good. We know we're subtracting 30, so we write our statement. The first term is 100. Take the previous term and subtract 30. You don't subtract -30. You subtract 30. Okay? So that negative, when we write like D equals -30, that negative tells me I'm subtracting. But when I'm using words, I write the word subtract 30. Not subtract -30, because that's not what we're doing. If I subtract -30, that's really adding 30. We are subtracting 30. All right, so now we're going to go the other way. So now you need a new direction set. So maybe on your paper, do a line or something. And we have a new direction. It says, given the recursive statement, write the first 3 terms of the sequence. So yes, you need to write this stuff out. And then we're going to come up with a sequence. So this is the page in which you'll have these questions. So you don't have to worry about the directions after this. So I have these 4 kind of questions together. So it says the first term is -9. Take the previous term and add 12. So it tells you where to start. It's saying you're going to start at -9. So my sequence, that's my first number. Okay, and I asked you to write the first 3 terms. So I need to do 2 more terms. So I've got -9. And what's it tell you to do? It tells you to add 12. Okay, so I'm just going to go -9 plus 12. And I get 3. So that's my next number. And then I take 3 and I add 12 and I get 15. And that's my next number. Okay, and that's my first 3 terms. If you want, you can go ... Okay, but those are my first 3 terms. -9, 3, 15. Next problem, same thing. First term is -4. I write down -4. And then I do what it tells me to do. It tells me to multiply -5. So I'm going to go -4 is my initial number, times it by -5. I get a positive 20. Negative times a negative is a positive. Then I take 20, multiply it by -5, and I get -100. Notice that it's okay that the negatives kind of alterate because you're multiplying by negatives. So you're going to keep kind of bouncing between positive and negative numbers. You could choose to kind of do your comma, dot, dot, dot. Doesn't matter. Then we take a look at our next one. First term, it says is 11. So we're going to start at 11. And it says to take the previous term, and it says to subtract 23. So we're going to go 11 minus 23. Okay. And when you do 11 minus 23, you should be getting 12. And so you're not getting a positive 12, you're getting a negative 12. So that's your next number. And then you're going negative 12 minus 23, and you're getting negative 35. And then that would be the next number in your sequence. You can kind of go comma, dot, dot, dot if you want. Lastly, we have our first term is 40. And it says take the previous term and divide by 2. So we're going to divide by 2. So we're going to go 40 divided by 2. That gives me 20. And then I go 20 divided by 2, which is 10. And that's my first 3 terms. So those are writing and recursive statements, and also taking a recursive statement and writing a sequence. Lastly, we're just going to look at 4 word problems. So I have the direction. So for our word problems, maybe write word problems if you want, kind of separate from your last examples, and have your direction. It says for each of the following word problems, answer the following. A is a sequence, arithmetic or geometric. Notice it doesn't say neither or both. Okay, you're going to have one or the other. I'm not giving you a trick one. And then it says determine the common difference or common ratio. So in our first one, it says the Chicago Bears are playing the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers keep getting penalties. Each time they get a penalty, the Bears get to move half the distance to the goal. So you have to think, is that arithmetic or geometric? Well, I have to think, am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? So first, I kind of look for keywords. Okay, we're getting penalties. So in football or anything, penalties are bad, right? So it says each time they get a penalty, they move half the difference. So penalties are bad. Anytime you see like penalties, you're going smaller. So it's either going to be subtraction or it's going to be division. Because penalties, you get smaller, right? It takes away your points. So that means it's decreasing. Remember, when we have decreasing, we're thinking subtraction or division. So then the key, I see it says they move half the distance. Half. Every time you do half the distance. So if I'm going half, that's fractions. When I'm going half of something over and over again, that's really should be if I take half a pizza, right? Here's my pizza, I take half of it and I eat it, it's gone. Then the next day I take half of that pizza and eat it, it's gone. And I take another half of that pizza, it's gone. Notice that every time you're taking half, you're dividing that more and more. So when you have something or take a third of it or take a fourth of it, when you kind of have that like fraction word, you're thinking division. Okay, so what you're doing is you're taking half. You're not adding or subtracting half. You're dividing half. So because it's dividing, so if you have keywords like half, so even if you give yourself a note if you want, dividing, that's keywords like half, third, fourth, right? Any fraction words. So it's like your fraction words. That would be dividing. That would be dividing. So because we're dividing, is it arithmetic or geometric? Well, it's geometric. And we're dividing, so we have R equals for geometric. It says half. What is that as a fraction? 1/2. That's half. Then I take a look at my next one. It says every day I make sure to drink 8 glasses of water. So I think, every day I'm drinking more and more and more, 8 glasses. So I'm going to think, is this going to be addition or is it multiplication? So think about it. You can kind of give yourself a thought. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Okay, on day 1, I drink 8 glasses of water. Okay, then on day 2, I'm also going to drink 8 glasses of water. And then on day 3, I'm going to drink another and another. So all I'm doing with these numbers, I'm going to keep adding them up. If every day I'm just doing the same number, I'm going to add those numbers up. right? So every day, drink 8 glasses of water. I'm just adding 8 glasses every single day. I'm not multiplying. When I'm just adding to it, I'm increasing 8 glasses every day, just as I'm drinking 8 every day. So every day it's 8 more, 8 more, 8 more. That's addition. So because it's addition, we're going to be arithmetic, because you're just adding 8. Because you're just adding 8, it's arithmetic, and arithmetic goes with D. We're adding 8, so D equals a positive 8. So notice these keywords here, just you're drinking 8 glasses. It's not saying any keyword, fraction words. So fraction words like half, third, fourth. Okay, that is more division. In this one, I just said I'm drinking 8 glasses each day. That's 8 more each day. 8 more. More is addition. The directions here you already have written, so worry about the word problem. So number 3, it says Sally is trying to pay off her credit card debt. Okay, every month she withdraws $100 from her bank account. So she's trying to pay off her debt. So withdrawal means take away. Okay, so withdrawal is actually subtraction. So it's getting smaller. Okay, it says she's withdrawing, so you could think smaller means subtraction or division. But just says she withdraws $100 from her account every month. Is that any fraction words? Fourth, half, third? No, right? It just, she takes out $100 every month. So month 1, she's going to take out $100. Month 2, she'll take out $100. Month 3, she takes out $100. So over and over again, she's just taking out $100. So that means she's subtracting it. Okay, withdrawals and stuff are subtraction. That's not a key fraction word. Fourth, half, third, those are division. If you're just taking out something, that's subtraction. Okay, you're taking away. So because it's subtraction, it's arithmetic. And we're having D for arithmetic, and we're subtracting 100. So D is negative 100. And last but not least, we have Susie. She has a shopping addiction. Every year, her wardrobe triples in size. So triple, is that going up or down? It's increasing. So that's either addition or multiplication. But if I'm tripling, okay, that really triple, double, quadruple, anything like that. These are key words to indicate, okay, 1 year, say she has on year 1, pretend she had 10 items. If I triple for year 2, what do you do to triple a number? Triple means 3 of them. So that's times 3. So I would have 30 in year 2. So when you triple means times 3. Okay, so that means anytime I have words like that, triple, double. Okay, so maybe have a side note. Okay, when I do with multiplication, I look for keywords. So multiplication has keywords: triple, double, quadruple, etc. So if you're looking at, is it multiplying or adding? Well, we said triple, that means times 3. Double means times 2. Quadruple means times 4. Okay, so those would be keywords to kind of even have written down, so you know, triple times 3, double times 2, quadruple times 4. Okay, so that is multiplication. Because it's multiplication, we're going to say this is geometric. Geometric is with the common ratio, and we're multiplying, oops, not 4. Multiply triple means times 3. So from these word problems, you end up covering all types. You have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Multiply, key, look for words like triple, double, quadruple. Okay, division, look for half, fourth, third. Okay, fraction words. And then when it's addition, subtraction, addition, just like it's saying you're drinking more, 8 more, 6 more each day. Okay, 6 more each time. That's just adding over and over. Withdrawal, 100 each month. Okay, you're just taking out 100 each month. So those are kind of those keywords you look for. So now you have an example of each for your word problems. Make sure you write it all down and keep it organized.